Okay, so. Jim.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Good. All right.
Good to see you.
Hi, Jim. How
My
are you?
favorite executive director.
And my favorite president.
Fill in the
vice president. All right, so
I'm just seeing if Janice is here for an attendee, but she's not.
she did say that. So we are going to.
Why don't you hold off on the recording? We'll see. It's 5 o'clock. 5-minute grace period here. Yeah. Make sure she didn't go in the wrong place. I did mention that it's here, but I don't know if she's ever.
Janice, the Zoom user.
Hmm?
I think this is Janice, Zoom user.
Okay. That's what she was the other day.
Yeah.
Janice, so is that you? It is. Great.
Yep, that's me. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes. Yes, loud and clear.
All right. What we want to do is change Janice's caption at the bottom there. Click on it. And I think we're ready to go in a moment. Oh. You have a new commissioner who's going to be joining us. Second. It's for meeting privileges to find our way to the parking lot here. And maybe pass Janice's sign. Using it here. We are. We have a grace period of 5 minutes. For new commissioners here. Get yourself unpacked a little bit.
Premises on time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. This is a monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We're gonna start by calling the roll, and we also have a new commissioner here. We do the roll call in order to speed things up, in descending order of seniority. So you are the last person to say here. It saves about 15 or 20 minutes in every meeting here. So Reg Foster is present.
Jim Flanagan's present.
Janice Bennett is present.
Jeffrey Engler present.
Amanda Berman present.
Janice is getting used to being third in a row here. So I declare that we have a quorum.
I would like to welcome Amanda.
We're about to do that, but first I have to read the notice here. So one more minute here, Janice. So this meeting is being held on a hybrid basis, both in person as well as virtual attendance. And we have one commissioner attending virtually, so we'll have to do all our votes by roll call vote. And it's in accordance with the March 28th, 2025 amendment to the open meeting law that extends through June 30th, 2027. permitting this form of having a public meeting. And I also just want to note for the record that the Secretary of the Needham Housing Authority, which is our Executive Director, Cheryl Gosman, did post adequate notice of a meeting, the agenda, with the town clerk on June 13th, 2025, setting forth the date, time, and place. So I think we are official. And the first order of business is announcements from the chair. And the first announcement is that we have a new commissioner with us, Amanda Bourbon. Janice, I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say welcome, Amanda. It's nice to have another woman's perspective on the board.
Yes.
I was afraid it was going to be me and all the guys, but welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Now,
so
we
much.
actually have gender balance, so that's not bad, or close to gender balance. So anyway, Amanda, for those people who might not know it, there was a resignation by Penny Kurt, and which meant that the remainder of her, I think it took 3 years left to go on her term. The protocol is that the select board and the NHA board meet in joint session, which took place last Tuesday. And that was preceded by a noticing period in various different channels that the seat was open. We actually received, for the first time I ever have heard of, we received 7 candidates in expressing their interest. So we're obviously doing something interesting to other volunteers in Needham. And Jim Flanagan and the vice chair of the select board, Kathy Dowd, was sort of a interviewing committee that talked to all, and screening committee talked to all 7 candidates, and then came to last Tuesday's select board meeting with the recommendation that the top recommendation for reasons they set forth in that meeting was Amanda Berman, and close second was Felix Zemmel. And if anybody wants to hear or know more about that, it's part of the recording of that select board's meeting, which you can get from the town website. So welcome aboard, Amanda. Do you mind outlining a little bit of who you are and what you've done professionally in the past? And I guess you live in Needham, of course. Yes.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Berman. I'm very, very happy and excited to be here. I live in Needham with my family. I have a 7-year-old daughter and 10-year-old son who attend Needham Public Schools. And I'm an urban planner, and with a focus in affordable housing, community development. I currently work for a nonprofit organization called Metro West Collaborative Development that develops and manages affordable housing across the Metro West region, also provides different housing support services to residents and non-residents. Prior to that, I was the Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Newton for 6 years. Worked with a lot of different stakeholders across that city to plan for and support development of affordable and mixed income housing, and also to provide for housing support services, other social services across the city, and through different nonprofit organizations in the city. So that's a bit about me.
That's great. Well, thank you. Great to have you join us. And I should just conclude by saying the protocol under statute and the bylaws is that Amanda is filling out the next 10 months by appointment to Penny Kirk's position. And then the protocol is that anybody may run for that position, including, of course, hopefully in Amanda. And then the voters of the town of Needham will select who fills out the remaining 2 years of Penny Kirk's 5-year term. And it's done that way because the terms of the commissioners are staggered. So there's never more than, I think, 1 commissioner that comes up for re-election, position comes up for re-election every year. So that's what we've got. I don't have any other announcements, and I'm gonna go right to resident and community input. Do we have any input? I see Ross is ready.
Thanks very much.
And remember, we have a couple new commissioners here, so if you could just make sure you introduce yourself fully and what, you know, who you are and so forth.
Okay, yeah, my name's Ross Donald, and I live at 25H Chambers Street, born and raised in the town, former town meeting member, et cetera, et cetera. We have had a residents association. I'm president of the Residents Association, so when I speak, I try and speak as the bylaws provide for the residents. We do have a focus that says, as I've been voicing our role in that we have an organization that we're supposed to speak to the common good, but we also support individual tenants if they have an issue. We want to be able to provide them with whatever kind of means and rules and regulations, access to whatever, in order to do what they want to do individually. So, but the two main purposes that we've had over the past year, and this is our anniversary this year, is the condition of the property inside and out. And we figure that we need to be more particular, maybe figure out a work order process, whether we call it up. I take pictures of things sometimes. We used to have suggestion boxes here, and they've gone since we've been remodeling. So I wonder if we could get the suggestion boxes back. The other main issue of or interest of the Residents Association is the status and direction of redevelopment, modernization, or whatever we want to kind of describe the work that is planned for here and the work that is going on. Let's see. There's a lot of little details I'll just mention in passing, rather than trying to sum it up in that kind of general kind of way. First of all, I appreciate that they were not doing any mowing and blowing behind the Chambers Street units. The issue there was that they were blowing up the organic matter away from the gardens, killing the gardens, and blowing the organic matter into the drain. So it's lose-lose. We need to come up with a comprehensive landscaping strategy. I don't think we have any policies on landscaping. We've got policies on tenant participation and equipment and things like that. But I think a landscaping policy that would make sense would be more along the lines of sustainability. Don't do any extra work if you don't need to do it. Plant plants that don't need mowing. You know, if we don't like mowing because of the noise and disruption, there are other alternatives. We need to think it through. So we're making sense here, if only just to save money. Let's see. One of the problems that individual tenants have, I skipped over this, I wanted to say this. Some individual tenants are having particular problems, and we feel, I've been here 14 years, and I've seen that the eviction process is being used as a technique to punish people. It's not suitable. As a matter of fact, Penny Kirk at one of her last comments was that there was an accountant that they used to have. I don't know whether she's still here. I don't know who she was referring to, but that accountant would take an interest in the particular tenants and might have fallen behind and work out a plan. Here, we seem to be going right to eviction. So that could be done a little bit more sensitively, I think. Let's see, okay, quickly. Some of the issues that we're having, we expect to go into the next year is how the policies are implemented in practice. Talk about participation policies. How can we address practical problems like we're addressing the pavement and potholes issue? I don't think we have a date yet. It's supposed to, it's a safety hazard, should be done in 72 hours. And we also need to look at the paving in terms of what other things we can learn from the people doing the pavement. We have, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent at Seabed's Captain Cook. Don't we have any kind of relationship with that person? Giving him hundreds of thousands of dollars, you think you'd be able to knock on his door and say, could you come over and look at this for a couple of minutes? I don't know. So maintenance, beyond just the work that's going to be done now. And some of the other issues are 164 Linden Street. We've never taken it up as a discussion item. It's was designed, built, and used as a community building. It's right now it stands as a zoning use violation. So we should really do something about that. Also, one of the issues coming over the next year, if we can, keep it going, is the status and direction of the Residents Association. We have no bank account, we have no office. I'd still like to look at 180D Linden Street as an office. It's not being used for anything now, and as far as I can tell, it was waived to be used for other things. Healthcare workers staying overnight and so forth. Plus, if I could get in there and use it as an office, I could fix it up, and make it ready. And as soon as it's ready, we'll find another office and space. And we'll get that unit back online. And finally, during the,
Just want you to know,
this
you've
is the
gone
last
5
comment.
minutes. Yeah, okay,
Thank you very
right.
much. During the election, I put up some of these flyers and posters and things like this for the people that were running. I thought it was a good thing to do. People are interested, they appear here, they speak for the tenants and when they run for office, and it's a good public service. We should engage the residents in public affairs. I'm told that this is not legal. Now, I've already called the Attorney General, and it looks like it's perfectly reasonable, to be able to put up things like this. So I think we should resolve that so we can encourage. And I'd like to hear what your inclination is. Is it a good idea to have the tenants be exposed to the candidates and public issues, questions on the ballot and so forth? I think it's a good idea. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Ross. Cheryl, do you have anything you want to comment on? No, okay, great. I'm just gonna go to the online attendees. We only have one that I can see here, Sue Biazizo. Sue, if you wish to be recognized, could you, excuse me?
Would you please?
Please put your hand up, yeah. If you could, Sue has her hand up here, if you could, like, enable her. Sue, we should be able to hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm mute. Hello, Amanda. I'm Sue Biazizo. I grew up here in Needham and I live up at Seabeds Way. Been involved with, a lot of resident groups in the past. And the only thing I'm going to bring up, and I think I've brought it up before, people know where I live, the seniors. As far as, the reconstruction and everything, people are still, there's such high anxiety up here. It's just unbelievable about where are we gonna go? Can we take our pets? Can we come back to where we were living before? And I've talked to them till I'm blue in the face. Come to a meeting to ask these questions and get the straight talk from everybody. But in the meantime, I really think that if people had a simple notice that was put up at the mailboxes in our buildings saying, just a couple of bullet points. Yes. Well, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Number one, yes, you'll be able to take your pets. Number two, we don't know what the buildings are going to be like. So you can't have a choice of where you want to live, all that good stuff. It might lower the anxiety for a lot of my neighbors up here. They just, for whatever reason, they don't want to come to the meetings or they forget that there are meetings. So I just wanted to let you be aware of that. Okay, thank you.
That's a great comment, and maybe you can put Sue's hand down in case she wants.
I will. I got it. I'm lowered.
Okay, and Cheryl, do you have any comment on that?
Well, Mr. Chair, we did mail out a question and answer.
Yeah.
Flyer, I think it was about 6 pages to all the residents.
When did that
And,
go out?
that went out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
We'll post that information on the bulletin boards in each of the buildings. And,
Really?
excuse me?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll post those on the bulletin boards in each of the buildings as well. I think we've been very transparent throughout this whole process with what's happening. I understand that people, because it's not happening, are perhaps anxious about the whole process. But a
Mhm.
lot of the questions that you've raised, we've talked about at many of the meetings. And a lot of that is also on the Q&A that was mailed out to all the residents at Seabed's
I
Way.
can't talk right now. I'm on a meeting. Bye.
Yeah. Can you put
So-
yourself on mute there, Sue, if you don't mind?
We will, we will do more due diligence by including that in the foyers of each of the 4 buildings at Seabed's Way.
Let me make a suggestion, because having been through this before when I was down in Marion, you have to do it over and over and over again, and
Chris, I'm on a Zoom meeting. I can't talk.
can you mute Sue maybe? You have
Okay?
to do it over and over and
All right.
over again. And some people read the frequently asked questions and other people maybe have trouble reading it, or they,
Yeah.
And so I think, and it's, as you said, absolutely understandable
Yeah.
that people have concerns,
Yeah.
and maybe we can just take that under advisement and talk to our consultant, the Cambridge Housing Authority consultants on.
They put together, I mean.
I know they did. I know, I'm not just saying, it just went out. I saw it, but you really, it's, it just comes with the territory.
Yeah,
And just, I think it's a great suggestion. So
It's a good idea.
we can, take that off.
I would like to weigh in on Sue's
Please go
concern.
ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so Sue, I believe it was 2 years ago on one of our very first meetings with the Cambridge Housing Authority, it was made abundantly clear that there were no guarantees anybody would return to their original unit. But I'm sure I can guarantee people that lived on the first floor will be in there for a first floor unit due to health concerns, and that's it. Nobody knows, and there is a pretty clear starting point of March of 26, where they'll be starting reconstruction or rehabilitation of the units. And nobody was guaranteed, there were no guarantees, only that you could take your pets with you. So.
But I think we can do better than that, Janice, is all I'm trying to say. And we're not gonna solve this tonight. I just got some ideas of how to do it, but I just know we can do the most perfect job, and in 2 months, half of what we say, the perfect job gets forgotten and people start worrying again, because it's a big deal. So we just recognize this comes with the territory, and we have to just sort of bend over backwards, in my opinion, to kind of do whatever we can. So you could help us collaborate as well, because as our resident commissioner and you're over there, I'm sure you hear some of it as you bump into people yourself. So we just have to understand that this is completely understandable, and we need to, like I said, bend over backwards. So let me come back to the room here and say, is there anybody else who wants to go ahead? Yes. And please identify who you are for our new commissioners here.
Hi, my name is Marlene Costa. I'm a resident here for the past 3 years, and I'm currently treasurer of the tenants organization. Welcome to Amanda. It's very nice to meet you, and you have a very impressive resume. I'd like to know where the accountability is. Now, we've gone through the packet. For example, itemization for consultation services. There are bills, $280,000, another bill for $180,000 for Cambridge Housing Authority and Watertown Housing Authority. Nothing is itemized. It's just basically over $500,000 that's being spent. I don't know where these funds are coming from, whether it's federal funding or state funding for these so-called consultation services. There should be accountability. There should be an itemization of these services so that we know exactly what services they are providing for the benefit of the tenants at all of the properties of Needham Housing Authority. There's none of that information in the packet. And this point that was just brought up about, asking Cambridge Housing Authority to come up with a plan on how to best tell the tenants in Needham Housing Authority properties what's going to be with the moving issues for the redevelopment. I don't understand. We have a very competent staff of many people at Needham Housing Authority. Why can't they figure out how to talk and tell and get the information to the tenants in these properties, Seabeds, Captain Cook, Linden, Chambers, whatever properties, or Highland, High Rock? That's clearly, their job. So I want to know, where is the accountability with the Needham Housing Board and the executive director? They have a responsibility to the tenants to provide safe and clean and safe housing. You have a responsibility. Please. This is taking up my time. I'm going to continue to speak.
Sorry, Lee.
That's all right.
Yeah,
The board, the Needham Housing Authority Board, they have a responsibility to the tenants here to provide clean and safe housing and housing that's maintenance properly. All of this money, is it coming from the tenants' rents? Is it monies that are for repairs and routine everyday maintenance? The monies that the federal government, HUD and EOHLC provide for capital improvements? We've had a 5-year plan and annual plans, but yet not one thing has been done. Even the driveway project, which is the only thing that is even on the table for the past 5-year plan, is the driveway. And we had a tenants meeting where Greg Gillis, who is the head of maintenance, he came to our meeting and he said, everything is off. We have no money. We've been told that we cannot spend this paltry $11,000 to $15,000 to fix the potholes. And I would welcome Amanda Berman taking a look at it if she hasn't seen it yet. We have to drive over these. It's a sinkhole. It's developing into a sinkhole. Please take a look at it before you leave or wherever you have time. We have to traverse this in two-way traffic.
Hey, Jen,
every
Marlene,
day.
you're,
And it's a safety issue.
Marlene.
I need to be heard. You interrupt people.
no, I'm not
because you
interrupting you.
don't
I'm running the meeting. No, that's not true. I'm just saying that, giving you, letting you know you're over the 3-minute limit,
Well,
you know.
saying is important, and frankly.
I'm
we're
sorry.
here for
I'm sorry, sir. I am happy to talk to you. I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting, but we do have a lot of things to get through
All right,
here.
well, I want to know where the accountability, where is this
I'm-
money coming from? Why can't you fix
Excuse
these
me,
things?
Marlene.
Yeah.
There is total accountability.
It's not evident in the documents, sir. Thank you.
Marlene, it's not intended to be evident in the documents, but there is total accountability and oversight.
Well, then.
Marlene, I'm not having a discussion with you. I'm answering your question, so stop
What is the
interrupting me.
answer?
And the answer is the 3rd time I've said this, there is total oversight and accountability already in place. And I'm happy to talk to you about it after the meeting, as much as you would like, okay? And I will explain it to you. Okay, what we do need to move on.
Driveway project going forward or not, just to temporarily fill these dangerous sinkholes. That's all I want to know.
Let me ask,
Thank you.
Carol, you want to address that concern we all have?
Yes, well, quite honestly, Mr. Chair, I wish that we could have these kinds of conversations in a meeting in my office, and I could be more than happy to give them.
Excuse me, can you speak up a little bit?
Excuse me,
It's about the.
excuse you, will you both stop talking? Please. Go ahead,
The
Cheryl. Would you
information-
speak up a little bit?
The
Just people have-
information that they need.
Yeah,
And in terms of the potholes, we are working on finding we're working on finding a contractor that we can afford based on a budget that has been cut. So we're working on it. We're getting there.
Okay, so we've got an answer now. Happy to talk to you more about it after the meeting, okay? All right, and we do need to move on. All right, thank you. Is there anybody else here, Jim, or anybody else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is a
Please,
follow-up.
please identify yourself because we have our new commissioners
I
here.
was
Okay,
just about to do it. Rich.
okay, great,
Thank you.
thanks.
Amanda, my name is Jim Burke. I live at 188C Linden Street and have been there since 2007. I am a member of the Massachusetts Bar, having passed the bar in 1968. Why I'm here, I have melanoma on my left eye. I don't have any vision. But I'm very, very fortunate. I played down in the Putnam Golf League. Bill Lobby had the same doctor, same diagnosis. He died within 6 months. I treasure each day. Now getting on to what bothers me. I was shocked to see the amount of monies that are owed to Cambridge Housing Authority and also to Watertown Housing Authority. There's a commercial on TV, Liberty Mutual. Only pay for what you need. And I ask that question to each member. Only pay for what you need. You are a very competent staff, right? You have developed down in Monson. You're not rookies. Get some self-confidence and say, let's do the job. That's all I'm asking, and I hope you do. Welcome aboard, Amanda.
I again am happy to talk to you after the meeting. I've laid eyes on, excuse
think
me,
we'd be
let me just finish my answer to you. I am happy to talk to you after the meeting as much as you would like. I've laid my eyes on every single invoice that underlies those expenses that you have identified, and they are all legitimate, and I will explain it to you. But it's not on the agenda tonight, so that's not what we're going to be doing. What we will be doing is getting the commissioner's questions on the warrant, if there are any, but I'm happy to spend whatever time you would like, okay?
No, it's not okay, Rich. What I think is fair, that it be placed on the agenda, so each individual tenant knows exactly, if you just talk
So-
to me,
so
is it
let
my
me
job then to
Let
spread?
me interrupt you. If you have something you wish to place on the agenda, you know that you need to bring that up 2 weeks before the meeting, okay? And meanwhile, to address your concerns, I'm happy to talk to you as long as you would like after the meeting. And we need to move on, okay?
I would need a little schooling as far as having something placed on the
And
agenda.
I would happy to do that as well.
Okay,
Okay.
see you after the meeting.
Yeah, all right, great. Is there anybody else who hasn't had a chance to provide input? Or we'll go to our agenda. Who?
Did you want to say something, Doreen? You had your hand.
No.
Okay, great. We are going to move on. Here we go. Okay, and interestingly, the very first thing on our agenda is our warrants. Agenda item A for the board to review and approve the payment first of the NHA bill schedule and check warrant of $271,000. No, it's a revised number. What is that revised number? I have the old agenda here.
We did, the warrant is in your packet, and the total warrant for Needham Housing Authority is oh, 531. 531 for $483,029. The warrant includes the Section 8 landlord payments.
Yeah.
The payroll. It also includes the accounts payable warrant bills.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that's.
So let me circle the number on there. I'm gonna make the motion. Okay. to provide, to approve the $531,483.29 of the NHA bill schedule and check warrant. I make that a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Janice, and now we can discuss if there are any commissioner questions here on what's in the warrant, recognizing that Amanda has seen all this for like the first time, so.
yeah,
So-
I'd like to say something.
Janice, yeah, go ahead.
On review and approve, number one. My document says 271,311.33.
Yeah. I think there was an amendment and I forgot to bring it with myself, amended agenda, and all those
Yeah, so
invoices are listed in the backup in
in
the, yeah,
the original posting of the agenda included the AP warrant of 231, I
Right.
think that you see there.
yeah,
But you all always vote the total warrant.
Yeah.
You don't just vote the AP.
Yeah.
So the warrant has always been posted that way
Yeah.
as the total amount.
but all the backup is in the packet, right?
That's correct.
Is really the point I'm trying to make here, so. That's what it adds up to with the amendment to the agenda. I was just reading the old agenda that came out last whenever. So, more importantly, are there any questions about any of those expenses or anything you want to explain, Cheryl, to us? Okay, Jim? Jeff? Amanda? Janice?
No,
Okay. Then I will call, for the vote. Reg Foster votes aye or to approve.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
All right, we'll get our rhythm down by the end of the meeting here. So, what's our, is there, we now have the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant. And this number is of $197,939.83. I make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Any questions from any commissioners? Anything you want to comment on, Cheryl?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye to approve the warrant.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Right, that passes unanimously. All right, I'm going to the consent agenda. Item B, we received separately the minutes, B1 for the 4/17/25 meeting, but not the 5/15 meeting, right? Okay, so we're, number 2 is stricken off the consent agenda, and we're going to again vote this as a, so we don't have to do 6 different votes. We're gonna vote this together, unless then somebody has some questions here.
Yeah, I have a question.
I'm sorry, I'm talking to the commissioners here. So, is there any, questions on any of the other reports, the standard reports that we received? Hearing none, I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, as reported in the agenda there. Do I have a second?
I think I'm on to be heard on that, am I not?
What's your question? I'm sorry, but I was just getting the motion on the table.
I
Okay,
realize that.
all right, so, all right. Then now, yes. What's your question?
About, I think it was April, Calpana was remote and asked that, the gallery be shown so that we could see who was present. And Jim said he'd take it under
I'm
advisement.
sorry, is this an amendment that you were
Well,
suggesting to the minutes?
I'm talking to the, minutes that were recorded.
Yeah.
They don't show who was present at the meetings. And this is something that we dealt with
We
before.
don't normally show that in our minutes.
Oh, well, this is something we talked about before.
And I'm
we
sorry.
do want to see that.
I'm
They
sorry,
want to
we
see
don't
this
do
here.
that, and so we're gonna move on to the vote
Well,
here.
that's a revelation.
You
for me,
can, you
Because
can.
I'd like to maybe bring it up for a discussion because.
Then you
we
please
need-
do, it's not on the
Right,
agenda
right.
for
Yeah, thank you.
discussion,
I'll
okay?
stop.
Okay, thank you. So any other commissioner questions? I don't see any. I'll call a roll call yet again. Reg Foster votes aye for 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. To approve all those items, and
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
that's approved. Okay. We now come to agenda item C, the waste removal and disposal policy that was in your packet. And Cheryl, why don't you tee this up and tell us what's going on here?
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you. This policy really is, a policy to help control the, waste removal, the huge amount of waste removal that we are experiencing at Captain Robert Cook Drive and our High Rock Homes, federal properties. We are, we have gotten a lot of complaints from people in the town about items left curbside, which happens all the time. At Captain Robert Cook Drive, our dumpsters are always, overflowing with rubbish. And so this is an attempt to take control of that. The enormous amount of money that we spend at the dump or the RTS, bringing rubbish to the RTS that we have to pay for to remove is out of hand. And so this policy attempts to control some of that behavior, particularly at Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabed's Drive. I'm sorry, Captain Robert Cook Drive and High Rock Estates.
Right. And has everybody had a chance to read the new policy that's being proposed, starting on page 89, commissioners?
Yes,
Okay.
I read the policy. We haven't had a policy on trash, and I want to say 12 years or better. And half of the problem is we got a new contractor and he brought us smaller dumpsters. And we also got new dumpsters for anything but trash and glass and plastic. And a lot of people, I don't think they knew, or maybe they didn't understand, you know, the situation. My son that lives in Maine couldn't believe that we didn't have the separation of trash and garbage. But the increase in the pickup helps because those dumpsters are a lot smaller, and the way some of them are situated with the other dumpster beside them, it's hard to get in there because they also have the expanding bars where the truck has to pick them up, and the other dumpster is close to it, and it would be hard for say someone with a disability to maneuver their way there. But I think the extra day pickup will help with the overcrowding of the dumpsters. But you should probably really send out something in the mail, you know, that's doesn't sound so threatening to the residents, and just kind of explained in a nice way the different uses of the different dumpsters. I think it was done before, but you know, after my hospitalization, I'm a little foggy on when that was. So maybe you know better, Cheryl, but yeah, that would be my recommendation. So.
You have any comment, Charlie?
Yes, and I may ask Greg to chime in and correct me, but the dumpster sizes are the same as the company we used before.
Yes, they were prior. We got different ones, so they had side doors to make it easy to load.
And then we also have recycling dumpsters.
We have 3 recycle bins up there, 2 at Captain Cook, 1 up at Seavets.
And
Really?
then what's happened, yes, we do. And then what's happening at High Rock is we have recycle and trash bins. So what's happening is that residents are often overflowing those bins with trash and are not using the recycle bins correctly. I get letters from people throughout town, I get phone calls, I get emails, and they're just disgusted about the way the community looks when trash is left out on the side of the road, waiting for our guys to come around on Monday morning to pick it up. It takes a great deal of time for our guys to go around and pick up items that residents leave on the curbside. It's not, and then we have to pay for that as well, that disposal. So the RTS is free and they encourage recycling, and all of that is laid out in this policy. So we're just trying to get people to understand to take a little bit of care of your community and avail themselves to the gray RTS, AKA dump. And, not leave it for our guys to pick up. And also to remove your bins, don't leave your bins out. That's not the place where they stay on the curbside. Put your bins back in the place where they belong. So these changes, even though it sounds harsh, I'm not sympathetic because we are spending a great deal of money removing items from curbside, and we're being charged by our waste removal company as well for picking up TVs and tires and things like that. So we really need to put a stop to it and get it under control.
Okay.
And Greg, do you want to add to
If I
that?
may. You either pay or you drive and need them. There is no town cash pickup.
That's right.
You don't get to dump stuff on your terminal, it just magically disappears. So you bring in housing just in line with the rest of the town. Basically,
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Well, I looked at this and I think it's a good policy, but my question relates to, it sounds like in order for it to work, there's recourse for people that don't comply. My question is how, not knowing the properties as intimately as I should, is there video surveillance? Are you expecting others to self-report? Because if there's no penalties for the violators, the policy doesn't have much teeth. I think people, if they start getting fined for leaving things.
Can I
out on
just
the- on the curb-
stop you there? That we don't find people in public housing authorities. It's illegal to find people. It's actually a fee for taking care of the item. And it's a distinction that you wouldn't know, neither would Amanda. But actually, we can't have a system of finding under the regulations that we operate here.
Oh, you have a fee.
We have a fee, a removal fee,
Well.
which is amounts to the same point you're
Point
making.
noted. So-
But it was just a point of education. I realized all of a sudden, the moment you said it, that we had to learn a few years ago. So
Fair enough,
please
Mr.
continue.
Chairman. I appreciate the education and the clarification.
Yeah.
So the fee
mhm.
is incurred how?
Well, it's the same point you were making, which is if you violate the policy, then we charge you a fee for doing that. And that serves as an incentive, a feedback loop, if you will, so that people over time realize that that's what behavior is expected from everybody. And also there's usually an implementation period, a phase-in period with our policies. So, there isn't like, all of a sudden overnight, you have this in place because people do need to learn what's expected from them. Assuming that we all agree that this is a good policy, with backed up by fees that are charged to, you know, for those people who violated. I mean, you were going to the point, is there a video surveillance, just to pick up on the point you were making? How do, question I think, Cheryl, is how do you know who to, or how does Greg know who to charge the fee
Well,
to?
at Captain Cook, it's very difficult,
Yeah,
but at the residential sites, it's just obvious.
Yeah.
In the front of the house.
so we don't always know is the answer here, yeah, unless, at least
Or
with
if it's,
Captain
you
Robert.
know, something in front of someone's house where,
Yeah, it's set forth in front of their house, there might be, you know, but that doesn't mean somebody can't
and we are going to insult.
take it out and put it in front of Janice's apartment instead, you know, so. So, that, you know,
Can I make?
go
a
ahead, yeah, please.
Recommendation, and I don't
Yeah.
wanna make more work for Cheryl
Yeah.
and the staff. And I understand what Greg said, relative to some people, it'll be isolated and I think a little easier, more attributable. But I would, a simple 1 or 2 pager that shows the additional expenses that are being incurred because of the resident behavior, leads some to understand, oh, we didn't do paving because we spent $30,000 in the last 3 months hauling TVs and monitors and mattresses away. That could have been spent, you know, more efficiently. I'm not saying,
Excuse me, you're not recognized, do not speak up.
so,
Safety hazard.
Mr. Chairman, my
Yeah.
point
And
is
it's
just,
illegal.
Marlene, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the meeting if you keep doing that.
my point is anecdotally, I think it's illustrative for the residents to understand how much money is being spent on what I would deem unnecessary trash and recycling removal.
Yeah.
Just, you know, order of magnitude, is it $10,000, is it 30, whatever it is, but it's real money that collectively we are losing because we have not had an effective policy, which is now what's trying to be implemented.
Well, what I'm gonna suggest is, that maybe you and Cheryl take this offline, because you have enormous experience with probably similar issues, around this, and, you know, we now have the benefit of your input, and I think what Cheryl, unless you have something, do you have something to say for the meeting now, or what you're looking for is to ask us to at least provisionally approve the policy, because the other thing we do is we don't, you know, most of these policies, we just chew over 2 or 3 meetings in a row and get input. Then we put it into place, and then we see how it works out, and it's not uncommon for fine tuning to
Sure.
take place, you know, and, so is that what you're looking for here,
That's
Cheryl?
exactly what I'm looking for, and we can certainly continue to take comments from residents, and, you know, that's a really great point, Mr. Engler. I love that point to put. I actually pulled all of the invoices for the RTS that we've expended, and I brought it to our last meeting, I didn't bring it to this meeting. So, and then there's the man-hour time from our guys that spend a great deal of time on Mondays. You've seen my vacancy report, so, you know, we're really just trying to, get control of this and to improve the look of the neighborhood, because we have these 4 tires over there at Captain Rutherford Drive by, you know, it's people just leave things there and it's out of control. So we really need to do something. And it may mean that this policy will come back to the board for an amendment, and I'm up for that. You know, but I do want to initially get this out the door, communicate to residents that this is in place, and we can go from there.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yeah.
ask some questions?
Please.
And apologies that this is gonna take us back a little in the conversation, but can I just understand what is the process for trash collection, recycling? Who does it? You know, I see how often, but you know, what does it look like? Because I think that would help clarify some things for me that feel like there are big points that are missing in the policy. And again, I don't wanna,
Yep.
you know, belabor this too much, but I think just understanding the general process of how it all works.
Yeah.
Um,
And so you see the schedule and the
Right.
policy when we pick up, and this property as well as Seabed's Way is not the issue. The issue that we have are with the families. And that's the High Rock Estate up the street, Linden, et cetera, and Captain Robert Cook Drive. So the families have dumpsters, bins rather, trash bins, that our company that we contract with to pick up picks them up based on the schedule that's outlined in the policy. Likewise with Captain Robert Cook Drive, we actually included an extra day, so we're spending more money with our trash removal company so they can come out twice to pick up rubbish from Captain Robert Cook Drive. I think there might be some illegal dumpster, you know, people dumping going on because it's just was ridiculous. I can show you pictures of what.
So there
it
are
looks like.
big dumpsters at each site,
That's correct.
and as opposed to individual, like household bins.
Captain Cook has
Correct.
3 8-yard dumpsters. They get dumped twice a week.
Okay,
Seabed's Way has 2 8-yard dumpsters. They get dumped once a week. We don't have a problem there. The homes have a 69 foot tote for trash that gets dumped weekly. They have a 96 foot that gets dumped every other week. Now, if you break down your boxes, you fit them in the tote for the recycling, you shouldn't have a problem. That's,
So what's happening is
and I do that, of my experience, I live in Norwood, that's what I have, that exact schedule. And it, I had 3 kids and it moves more than sufficient.
so I guess my last question would just be where the information is for directions for tenants that explains, you know, if somebody's moving in, how do they know how they handle trash and recycling for their unit?
We have a handbook for new
Okay.
residents, and we give them all of that information.
Okay.
We're updating that as we speak. And we're also updating our housekeeping policy and our groundskeeping policy. But our new residents that move in do get this information.
So I think what would be helpful, at least
And
for
we-
me,
I'm sorry,
is,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Amanda, and we also keep it on, we post this information on our website.
is to look at that new resident handbook to understand how it's being communicated now.
Well, now what will happen is we will mail this policy out to everyone. And we'll have a meeting as well for
Okay.
people to comment on it. So that's my plan going forward is to, and that's what we do particularly with our newly voted policies. We mail them out to residents. And we post it on our website. And we have a new resident orientation packet that we give out. We don't have a lot of people moving in and out. So, yeah. That's how it's communicated.
Mr.
Oh, you're
Chairman, I have one more question,
Go ahead.
and then I think we gotta start somewhere, so I'm gonna make a motion that we accept this and kind of get something implemented. But my question is, where I would show a little sympathy is if we have residents that don't own a car, how they would get to the transfer station. I mean, I'm not sympathetic for people that have a car, because those of us that live in Needham, if you have too much stuff, you gotta take it to the transfer station. If you have a monitor, if you have a tire, if you have extra boxes, I go there all the time. But I have a car. So people that have a vehicle, I have no sympathy for them not adhering to the policy. But if somebody does not have a vehicle, I think we have some obligation to, you know, help them in some way. So that would
Cheryl,
be
you
my
wanna
only question.
comment on that, or I can?
I'll let Greg comment on it. I think that's a great idea. I think we already do that and we've overdone it. That's why. we
Well,
have
I'm gonna just throw my comment in.
Pretty much everybody has
Yeah,
cars over Captain Cook.
unfortunately, you can't live in Needham without a car, and so, well, I don't
Got to your house somehow.
I don't know of any tenant in, especially the family tenants,
Alright,
maybe
so-
less so for the,
So it's a
senior tenants.
non-issue. I would
Yeah.
just say then if we know of a resident that has no vehicle, I think we have an obligation if they.
All allowances we make.
Right, we would make some sort of accommodation, but everybody else, I have zero sympathy for people that cannot adhere to this policy. Because it's something that even the frequency is more generous than what most people get in Needham. So I think we have to start with this policy, recognizing that maybe it gets tweaked or amended once it's fully implemented. But I mean, the authority is collectively wasting money on trash and recycling.
Well, and I think your point about if you were a regular resident of Needham and you don't want to take your own trash to the dump, at all, then you have to pay for private cartage, and here we pay for
Right.
that.
But not only do you
ourselves.
have to pay for private, if you exceed what private allows, you have to take it to the transfer station, so
Yeah.
so it's
Or you
double.
get an additional fee
Right,
from
or you
them.
get an additional fee, so, which is
All right.
significant, so this.
So I think we're at.
Well,
every-
I have one thing to say, Reg.
Jen,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
like your suggestion, Mr. Angler. How do you fit a sofa in a car? I can't wrap my head around that, or for that matter, anything else that you actually want to transport to the dump.
I'll direct that question to Cheryl or Greg.
So I think, no, I think it's a great idea for people that don't have a car to get help from the housing authority. Because that's why we live in affordable public housing, so.
And I get that,
If you
Commissioner.
call,
Yeah,
Bennett.
yeah,
You could at least pay the dump fee.
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
you'd have to pay it, or they'd have to pay it.
Again, these are refinements. I can
Right.
think what
Yep.
we can do. I can tell you what I do as a private resident. If I have a sofa that I want to get rid of and doesn't fit in my car, I don't think it would fit in most people's car. I go to a friend who has a pickup truck and I borrow it for a dump run. So let's maybe get this policy in place and then fine tune it.
Yep.
Are we okay with that, Commissioners?
Yep.
Yes.
Can I
Amanda,
propose an amendment to the policy?
Of course.
I think $35 is too steep. So I would propose bringing it down to 25. I understand it's meant to be punitive, but I'm just trying to be realistic
It's not
about.
meant to be punitive. We don't say those words. It's meant to compensate us for the labor time and the fee that we get charged and probably fall short of that. But we don't, it's not intended as a fine.
It used to
course.
be 25 and then they upped it when all the illegal dumping started. So it is a little bit punitive. I would agree with Amanda, so
But if you
maybe
still
make
can-
it 30.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
proposing that we lower the fee to 25 is my proposal.
all right. Cheryl, any comment or?
I'll second that, Amanda.
All right, well, first we have to make a motion. I think Jeff was gonna do it to approve it. And then your motion to amend it, and then we vote on the amendment and then the approval.
Well,
So,
Can we do it all together? Can I make a motion?
You
that
can.
we approve the waste removal and recycling policy, including Amanda Berman's proposed amendment to change the non-compliance fee from $35 to $25.
Second,
all right, any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none, I will call the vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And I'm glad we spent the time on this because I consider this one of the most important things we do, even if it's, over small things like, this, is getting the policies as good as we can get them. They're never gonna be perfect, but,
Quality of life issue.
exactly, so. All right, thanks. All right, we're going to go on to our next agenda item. We are at executive directors, no, we're at, review and approve the Watertown Housing Authority intergovernmental agreement. Something that was brought up, Amanda, at last week's meeting. Marlene, please do not have a discussion while we're having a meeting. Please, Marlene, please have the discussion after the meeting.
Because we're not allowed.
People cannot hear if you do that. Do you understand me? Did you hear me?
What about the unauthorized use? of
Excuse me,
recycling?
I'm not recognizing you. Look, if you want to be recognized, you can ask for it. You know that is our protocol. Ross was perfectly able of doing that.
I was not aware of
You've
that.
been told that many meetings in a row, okay? Now you're aware of it,
I
okay?
just had one.
Are you aware?
Yes.
You're not recognized right now,
Well,
okay?
that's what I mean. That's why I don't.
No,
ask
I'm
for it,
sorry.
because it's never.
I'm happy to talk to you. It is allowed, but you can't just start a side conversation during our meeting. You understand me?
When is there?
Yes or no? Thank you. Now we're gonna move on. I'm not having a discussion with you. I will talk with you after the meeting about anything you want for as long as you want, okay? Do you understand? Thank you. All right, so, we are at agenda item D. And, it was brought up, at last meeting, so Amanda did have a video recording of that, but obviously this has been in flight. Maybe you can go through it again, apart, covering what we talked about at last meeting. And we all have on page, whatever, 95 and the actual proposed agreement and the scope that we are Cheryl's asking us to approve tonight. Go ahead.
So I'm asking that we partner with Watertown Housing Authority to provide services to Needham Housing Authority and our federal public housing program to help our federal public manager administer program in a timely and efficient manner. Our federal public housing manager is new. She's with us for a year. And she comes from Wind Management, a private company, that did not administer federal public housing. And federal public housing has a plethora of rules and regulations, and things have to be done a certain way. And so I've reached out to the Director of Leased Housing regarding this agreement and support of Needham Housing Authority in providing support to our federal public housing manager, who has a tremendous amount of potential. And given the correct direction and support, will do very well in her role as a federal public housing manager. So it's really just to, the purpose of this agreement, as you can see, is to memorialize the cooperative agreement between parties to detail distinct roles and responsibilities for each party in accomplishing their mutual objectives as more specifically described in this agreement. Watertown Housing Authority is very happy to work with us. The director is Jacqueline Sullivan. She's a young ED, and her director of lease housing, Brittany, I can't pronounce Brittany's last name, are very excited to enter into this agreement with us. I don't suspect that it will be very long. I'm only envisioning about 6 months, but we'll see as things go along.
I want to just add, again, for all the commissioners who are all relatively new, except for maybe Janice, who knows this, that if you're wondering where did the template or boilerplate come from this intergovernmental agreement and the provisions in it, the answer is we last created it and updated it in 2021 when we engaged the Cambridge Housing Authority for the first time to be our development consultant that has led to everything that's now going on right now. And so there was a very, they proposed the template, and then there was a very substantial negotiation on the sort of standard terms and conditions that would go into it. And we have been using that intergovernmental agreement ever since for various new task orders and work orders as they've unfolded over the last 4 years. So it's been, in terms of its form, it's been thoroughly vetted by counsel on both sides and has served us well in practice in terms of, covering all the basics that you want to make sure that's in there, even if you wind up putting the agreement in the drawer, except for the scope of work, you put the rest of the agreement in the drawer and you never have to take it out again. So I just wanted to add that note here. So, and did everybody have a chance to look at the scope of work that's on Exhibit A? It's on pack A1, package page 105 here. So this is what you worked with Jacqueline, the executive director, to kind of work out the scope of work. And so you and Jacqueline are agreed that this covers what you're looking to have approved. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any comments or questions or suggestions from the commissioners? Amanda?
Yes, so I see the fee shall be no less than 1,500 per month, but can we put a cap on it just to ensure that each month we're kind of containing the amount of work, so it's not to go beyond what kind of the
Are you
primary needs
suggesting
are?
a monthly cap or an overall cap? Because there is an overall cap on section 5A, page 97.
Oh, I'm sorry if I missed that. Okay, so,
And I think your question might be,
What
and
is-
what is that overall cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, have you worked that out with Jacqueline, what the
No.
overall?
What do I want to?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, so, and so your question is that might be a good idea to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, or your comment,
mhm.
okay.
And then, my other questions include which monies, which source of funding is this coming from? And maybe that plays a role in determining the cap.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
Cheryl.
it's coming from the salary budget line item from the MAO 65 program, from our federal program.
Okay,
Um. But I'm a little uncomfortable with initiating a cap. I don't.
It's pretty
Yeah.
standard to have a cap. It doesn't mean it can't be changed,
Mhm.
but it's just good hygiene, I think, to have something in there. And if it's not something that's, been discussed,
Mhm.
then we certainly can approve this to go forward, subject to, some cap to be worked out. It's really a budget. How much in services do you, it's at least, we know the cap, we know this is a 1-year agreement, and we know the cap can't be less than 12 times 15, whatever that is, 12's, 100.
I mean, the minimum.
Yeah, and we could make the cap that, and all that means is if we start approaching the cap and you still need to go, or if there's, some reason that you use more of it than expected, then you just have to return to the board and say, can we, raise the cap? So in order to just move this along, let's see, so that would be 12,000, that would be $18,000 would be the cap if the minimum is $1,500 per year. And if you want to extend it beyond a year, you do need to come back with,
Yeah.
and you're not expected to do that.
No, I'm not.
And you're saying that we have the money in the federal part of the budget, just to interpret Amanda's question.
Yes, and salaries,
But what, of unfilled positions and
That's
so
correct.
forth, that we could then
Exactly.
transfer to cover this, new person that we brought on board and cover this expense.
well, Mr. Chair, so if we're talking about capping it at that 1,500 per month, it's approximately 16 hours per month. Does that feel
Mhm.
appropriate for the amount of work that needs to be done, or is that too low?
No.
Because we don't want to enter into this with it and then it just being,
So I'm proposing not per month cap, but
Right,
an
but an
overall
overall
cap,
of the-
because it probably is likely that it would start off with more hours at first.
Mhm.
And then taper off if it's successful, because it's a form of training our new person, right? So that they can learn how to learn the ropes. One of our issues has always been, I think we mentioned this last time we talked, of finding good people.
right, of course,
We
of
can
course.
find people with good potential, but they don't necessarily have, or the training of already knowing what to do ahead of time. And this is a way of getting
Yeah.
the mentoring
Yep.
and training
Yeah.
on the job.
Excuse me, wasn't there a provision in there to extend the program for 4 years?
There is you can, but it has to be formally extended with the approval of the board because.
Yeah, that's
extent-
the part that I didn't see in there, so that was my question.
Oh,
Will we have to vote subsequently 4 years more?
there's a term of the agreement is, so the term of the agreement somewhere, I think it says it's 1 year.
Yeah, for 1 year and then down the road.
Okay. So if it's gonna be extended, then Cheryl has to come back to the board to approve that extension of the agreement.
Okay, I didn't see that in there, so.
If you look at 3A, when it says the term may be extended by mutual agreement of the parties for up to 4 additional renewal periods, the Board of Commissioner is the ultimate party that is being referred to there. So
Okay.
we need to agree to that. Carol
Okay,
needs-
thank you for the clarification on that.
But good, excellent. Spot on questions. So no, this is great. Any other comments? I will make a motion that we approve the proposed Watertown Housing Authority intergovernmental agreement with a cap, 1 year agreement with a cap of $18,000. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Amanda. We have our first second from Amanda here, so what is that phrase, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to the vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Candace Penn votes aye.
Jeff England votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And you got your agreement.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
We are now on agenda item E, Executive Director's Report. So floor is over to you again.
Floor is over to me. We are starting the process of preparing a request for proposals for a new fee accountant. We haven't done anything yet. Am I correct?
No, well, there's a bit more to it. And thank you to Jim for looking into this and, which is that, we have an informal process that we are noticing the board that we will be using for this situation. Again, just to repeat what the situation is, our longtime fee accountant informed us in April or so, or early
Yeah.
May,
Yeah.
that they would not be able to continue being our fee accountant beyond the end of the year. And they were giving us a lot of notice because it's a big deal to change out this thing. And they're recommending that we get a new fee accountant on board. Their recommendation was, starting July 1st. So there'd be a 6-month overlap period. We're a little behind schedule on doing that. Part of the reason we were behind schedule is I mistakenly thought, Cheryl did, we all did, that you actually had to go through a formal Chapter 30B style process to do that. But then our, old fee accountant, a longtime fee accountant that's done a great job for us, informed us, no, that there's an exception under Chapter 30B for accounting services where you don't have to go through the formal noticing and RFPing and so forth process. You can do a less formal process. You still have to have a process, and in discussing it with Jim and Cheryl, and doing a bit more research, we asked, by the way, who actually does this sort of work? Because it's a very, very small niche business in the Commonwealth for that. And the answer turns out there's only 3 firms that have been identified who actually have the expertise and competence to do this kind of work. One of the 3 firms is our auditor, known as Seabeds now, formerly Marcom. So they've automatically ruled out, obviously being our auditor. So there's really only 2. One of which happens to be a firm headquartered here in Needham, Massachusetts, by coincidence. We've looked at both, firms, what they have on their websites and so forth, and they look like perfectly competent firms to do that. And so what we're proposing to the board is that there be a subcommittee of the board, which would be Jim and myself as the chair and vice chair, working with Cheryl, who would actually, Jim has roughed out, a scope of work by just looking over previous RFPs that have been out there that you can just easily find and just, picking and choosing the stuff that applies to us. It's pretty standard across all public housing authorities. And then we would go ahead and interview these two firms and bring a report back to the board at our July meeting. Who we're proposing. We might even invite, if we have a recommended finalist, which I think we could do with a fairly small amount of effort, probably invite them to come and present to the board next month. And then we can make a decision and have that entity on board, or basically engaged is probably a better way of putting it, by the end of July, and we'd still have most of the second half for them to work in parallel with our existing fee account and figuring out how to do that. We also thought that while, we regret seeing our current firm going, they've been here as long as, I think Cheryl has been involved, right? All the way back now 30 years. But they are a very small shop and they have a very limited way of doing business. And this might be an excellent opportunity for us to have a new set of eyes and competencies come in and look how we're doing things. See if there's better ways reports could be generated that are more understandable. There's a lot of improvements that you might have already noticed, Amanda, even though you're only one day on the job here. So we thought we'd put in this RFP, not only just figure out how to take over and not break anything in the transition, which is hard to do, actually. It's a bit of a pain, but also to just make us some recommendations on how we can improve what we're doing as well. So that's the concept that we wanted to present the board. Go ahead.
Let me just make, also got some feedback from the executive director of Mass NARO of 2 other.
Oh, that's right.
So we've got a total of 4, but it's very small universe. With that public housing authority experience.
Yeah, I hadn't heard you were going to track that down.
Yep.
So, and we'll ask HLC as well,
Yeah.
and make sure that we cover the possibilities out
Yep.
there. But we don't have to have all the baggage and heavy duty process and with this that we would otherwise need under a Chapter 30B process. How's that sound to everybody? Good? Okay.
Interesting.
All right. So that's E1. E2, how are we doing on the ACOP here?
So the admissions and continued occupancy policy has been really very nicely put together by Michael Poisad, our executive assistant. It's a 2-inch binder of information.
It's a very long
It's very comprehensive
Process,
policy.
policy.
Policy that has policies embedded within the policy.
Yeah.
So we're continuing to work on that. We're getting some additional advice from NHA, who is the company that publishes a model ACOP, and we're using that model. We're just fine tuning things now. Michael is also working on our Section 8 administration plan, which hasn't been updated since 2015. So more to come on that. So these are just placeholders because these policies, the ACOP and the Section 8 admin plan, will include HOTMA legislation. So it's a big deal. HOTMA, as I will speak in a minute, just changes a lot of our processes for public housing, and our Section 8 program. So we're a little bit ahead of the game of getting this policy in place and moving forward with that information. Any questions?
Yeah, I want to just add a little bit more backstory again for our new commissioners here. I'll just start with the ACOP. So we the board back in the mid-teens discovered, like it was 2017 or 18, discovered that this ACOP, which is the federal version of the state regulations, So the state regulations are 760, CMR 760, uh, um, 6, 7, 11, and a few others in there, so forth, that cover all of our, it's basically all the procedures and that we have to follow for state public housing. The ACOP is the federal version of that, and they cover the same topics. They cover them in different ways or different policies. We discovered that the ACOP hadn't been updated since 2008, like for 10 years, which is light years ago. And it was also updated in a way that is completely unacceptable to HLC or DHCD at the time, because it was a one size fit all that combined both the state and the federal regulations into one ACOP. And so we had to like separate the Siamese twins that were mixed together somehow by the board in the early aughts, I guess is what we called back then. And Angie Medeiros, couple predecessors before, Cheryl took that heroically on and actually got an update done. I think it was 2021, just before she left. It's now time to update it again, because things have been changing. And one of the things that are changing will be the HOTMA, as I understand it, legislation, which is an act. It stands for whatever it says in there, the board, I can't remember it. But it changes all the procedures again and the criteria for determining income and so forth and so on. And it's the bane of every single public housing authority's existence right now, and not only in Massachusetts, but nationwide here. So that's the backstory on that. I would think we should add the Section 8 administration plan as next. Let's add it as one of these placeholder items. There, we used to outsource our Section 8 voucher management or administration. We have currently 123 Section 8 vouchers to the Dedham Housing Authority for years and years. And that's one of the things they, as a larger housing authority, they do for a dozen other smaller housing authorities. And why we did that back when is lost in the mysteries of time. But Angie Medeiros, again, one of her great contributions was to say, gee, I've been doing this for 20 or 30 years. This is really easy peasy. She worked for like the Fall River Housing Authority and the Worcester Housing Authority. And so she took it back in-house. And that was again around 2020, 2021, which was very financially beneficial for us because we weren't having to, give away all the management fee to the Dedham Housing Authority, and extremely essentially crucial to what we're doing with the PRI, because you have to be managing your own Section 8 vouchers, or you can't do what the repositioning that we are doing at Seabed's Way and hopefully in the future, Captain Robert Cook. But the administration plan, when Cheryl, who is to her great credit, a lover of keeping policies updated in her spare time, which she doesn't have any, but as we can get around it, noticed that our admin plan had been updated since 2015, and it still reflected all the things that would be in there if it was being managed by a third party. So that's what the back. Did I miss anything on the backstory here for you?
That's a great backstory. The ACOP also gives us direction. It gives our staff direction on how to administer the program.
Well, and guidance to the residents,
And absolutely.
either existing
Guidance
or
to our residents.
all kinds of policies in there. So
Yes.
the federal version thereof. Okay,
Yes.
so so you're saying today
Mhm.
we're chipping away at it as fast as we
We've
can.
made, with Michael's help,
Yeah.
a Herculean effort. We've really got a lot done. It took us almost a year last year to try to get past the first chapter. So with Michael on board, we've got a complete document with footnotes and policies within the policy. So it turns out to be a 2-inch binder of policy.
It's a biggie.
And this is true of all housing authorities. They have that same amount of information that's required. Everything is changing, and HUD is making clear definitions on a lot of their regulations.
Any
So that-
questions or comments? No, okay,
So,
moving to the website.
yeah, so Reg and I have been talking about website development. And he thought it would be a good idea if we put this on the agenda and to solicit your comments about our website, what you think, what you like, what you don't like. We are looking to update, not so much update, but to get a whole new website. We're looking at vendors and to perhaps purchase a new vendor to manage our website. So I'm not a fan of our website. I absolutely don't like it. Our state public housing manager, our senior state public housing manager, manages the website. She updates the site with notices and meeting minutes, agenda, etc. But it just doesn't read well, in my opinion, and I don't like it. So I want a new one.
Well, and just again, more backstory there. It hasn't been updated substantially since I joined the board, which was 2010. So it uses antiquated platform technology. It's very hard for users to update. And it uses navigation that, sort of early internet navigational techniques and doesn't really, it's overdue for a refresh, and we've never been able to find the time to do it. And I'm not sure, you really want to get this done because it's not really serving us very well. I think.
It's not a very user-friendly website.
Or a maintenance, update friendly from the point of view of.
Yeah, Blair, exactly.
So, the update is that you'd like to get input from the commissioners
Yes, sir.
on what they'd like to see changed. And, an easy way that I would suggest to everybody to do that, which again, discussing with Jim, is that there is a website that lists all the public housing authority websites in the Commonwealth already. With just a page of links, which, if you don't know any other websites, and of course, Amanda and Jeff might know more, but where you can just sort of click on that and say, oh, I like this one or like that one. So we're not looking, I think, for thorough bottom-up review. I think just even saying, boy, I really spent 5 or 10 minutes, surfing around this particular website at the Attleboro or Housing Authority, or just pick a,
Sure.
that's an example of what I think would be a good idea. And then you're gonna hire somebody to help us with this, right, Cheryl?
Yes, I'm also looking at the flyer that you have in your packet from Mass Arrow, and we will talk with them about their product and reach out to other vendors for their products.
And when would you like to hear the input from the commissioners? And by the way, any other members of the public are welcome to submit this as well, or residents or tenants.
Yes.
What's our deadline?
So our deadline would be a week before our next meeting.
Okay.
I can have some.
So how about a date? Oh, we might have a different date.
Yeah, okay.
You'll put that
I'll
out,
put that out.
because I think we might have a schedule conflict on our next meeting that we'll get to, so. So,
Okay, I'll put
I don't know,
out-
I think it should be resident oriented.
Yeah,
so, I'm gonna suggest that, I think Jim forwarded you, that link to the website of all websites.
yeah, I have.
So if you could send that around to the commissioners as well, and that way you don't have to find them yourselves, and you can, spend a short amount of time and say, hey, that one, make it look like that,
Okay,
all right.
great, thank you so much.
So anything else on that, or anything else you want to report on here?
So the next item is the hot mouth review.
Yep.
As I spoke about earlier, I'm just gonna ask you to pass this down. Take one and pass them down.
So we had a fairly incomprehensible, notice in our board package starting.
You did, this is an additional information.
Yeah, it was not the easiest thing to read, I would say. It starts on page 108 here.
And then the plus.
I found it much easier to ask ChatGPT to tell me what is really going on here.
I'm gonna pass that down.
Okay.
For you.
Highlights, okay?
All right.
There you go.
So, HOTMA is, Housing Opportunity for Modernization Act that was signed into law by President Obama in 2016. We are now at a point in time where we have to implement, certain sections of HOTMA. The HOTMA statute consists of 14 sections of law that at some point in time will get implemented. The implementation comes to us through two public housing agencies via the PIH notices that I included in your packet. That's hard for you to read, but that notice gives us direction on how to implement the sections that we must implement by July 1st. This legislation is,
Of this year, July
of
1st.
this year, July 1st of 2025. So what I've given you is a copy of the background on HOTMA, the final rule and implementation on sections 102, 103, and 104. We have to have 102 and 104 in place by July 1st, 102 and 104. 102 is income review determination, and 104 is asset eligibility. So those requirements have changed significantly by HUD in an effort to help housing authorities help to relieve the administrative burden for housing authorities and to provide a greater benefit for residents. So that's really the objective of those two sections. It identifies what's excluded as income, and that regulation has changed. And we have to include that regulation and the definitions in our ACOP, as well as our Section 8 admin plan. And then it also changes the asset limitation for people applying for public housing. So of the 14 titles in the statute, these two have to be in place by July 1st. And so that's why we're working so hard on updating our ACOP and our admin plan. My goal is to hold meetings with residents to inform them what this means and the impact on them. As I said, I've included a background on HOTMA. I've included the final rulemaking, which talks about section 102, 103, and 104. I've included the PIH notice. This gives housing authorities direction on how to implement those two sections. And I've given you a income and income exclusion resource sheet. And on the last two pages, it lists all the new items that need to be included in our policy as income exclusions. I think of something else to say about it. But it's a heavy lift on everyone, on all public housing authorities and their staff. We've attended many workshops on getting training and guidance on how to implement it. I feel that I'm pretty much prepared to ensure that the new sections are included in our ACOP, to ensure that the definitions are included in our ACOP, and to communicate this to our residents. I'm meeting with my staff on this, and we will have our meetings to discuss what their responsibility is and getting this, including this information in our ACOP. And then I will hold a series of resident meetings so that residents can ask questions about how this is going to impact them. And these meetings were, this is for our federal program. This doesn't affect the state program. This is all, federal. I got an email today from Caitlin Johnson, our HUD specialist, reminding executive directors that this has to be implemented July 1st. So my goal also is to give a review at each meeting about HOTMA, because it's a lot to take in. But I need to inform you all of this new legislation and the impact that it's gonna have on residents and on our staff.
And besides as a board information and regular status update item, is there any decisions needed or input you need from the board tonight?
No, I do not, sir.
Okay, so you just Q and A?
Just Q&A, reading, and I will be reporting on this as a placeholder at every meeting.
Okay, any Q and A? Q for some A's?
No cues.
No Q's, okay.
Got a comment. It doesn't sound
Go
like
ahead,
it
please.
reduces administrative burden in the short term. I'm suspect of that.
Well, there's always something like this going on, and
Yeah,
my,
it does reduce the administrative burden to staff in terms of our reporting and gathering information. So that has changed significantly how we implement that. And it's a benefit to the residents because, for example, if a resident has increased income, they no longer have to report that. That will then be captured at an annual reexamination. So it's very, very onerous. It's a lot, and my goal is really just to put this, to give you this initial information and then to report as I go along, as we implement it, as we roll it out. It does come with other benefits, particularly to elderly and disabled families. It will increase their medical deductions. It increases benefits for students. It's a good policy, but HUD hasn't completed all of the rules that they need to implement them. So it will change how we report to HUD. Currently, we use an antiquated system called IMS PIC. And whenever we enter our 50058s into the PHA web, it records it to HUD, and HUD knows what the agency is doing based on the information that we submit. They're going from a new housing information portal called HIP. And that will be a cloud-based portal, and it will be more modern, and we'll be able to give HUD information in real time. So it was initially very intimidating, but as I said, I've attended many trainings, many workshops. And so I'm pretty much ready to roll it out and implement it. And go from there. HUD is watching what we do, and they are going to score us on how this gets rolled out.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I don't think we have any further comments or questions, so I guess we'll move on, except, and I'll just say, I think in the long term, it's gonna be a benefit, as you said,
yeah,
to the residents and benefit the staff. But boy, just getting there is another big headache and burden on our staff and on Cheryl here, so we just need to recognize that. Anything else
so
on the executive records report?
So there was an item that came to my attention yesterday. You and I spoke about it. It was the policy over internal controls over financial reporting. We had an audit in 2023 where we received a material weakness finding on financial controls. Sorry,
You don't have.
pull it out.
No, because.
Yeah.
But go ahead and describe it. What's going on?
And what it was that, oh, here it is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. If you wouldn't mind passing this down. The letter is from Caitlin Johnson, our HUD specialist, and there we got two more.
Copies or?
One more,
Yeah.
I think, and I'll make sure Janice gets the
But
copy.
they're the same thing.
Everybody gets.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, sorry. And it talks about the internal controls over financial reporting, and we received a material weakness finding. And we did have our auditors at a board meeting not too long ago. And we rolled out a policy or an action plan rather on how to address this this finding. We had a corrective action plan that we submitted to the board. But what needed to come along with the corrective action plan was a policy on how to implement the corrective action plan. And that's what I have here. So, Reg and I thought that if you could just keep it with you, we may have a special meeting, an additional meeting this month, and we can vote this policy so that I can send it to HUD.
Well, so, yeah, so obviously, anything that comes up at the last minute and isn't provided sufficiently in advance can't, and isn't on the agenda, we can't deal with at this meeting. So this is just a heads up, I think is what you're saying.
Yes.
That this is, something that needs to be dealt with as soon as we can find time to do that. And get the proper noticing and materials out to the board and, you know, so forth and so on. And it's, what Cheryl's alluding to is that would normally be our next monthly meeting, which, you know, but if it could be, if there happened to be, and I'm going to be recommending that we are going to need a short special meeting between now and the next monthly meeting due to something I'm about to report on the PRI, then maybe we could tag it onto that meeting with the right notice and posting of agenda and so forth. So, but it's not a new issue, I guess, to, you know, earlier incarnations of the board. It's just something that there's an additional step that we need to take that hasn't been taken yet. So, is that a fair summary?
Yes, sir.
So, assuming everybody's okay with that, is there anything else?
No.
Any other walk-on
No.
things, agenda items? Okay, great. Any comments or questions? No. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item F, PRI status update. You've got the reports that were either in the packet or sent out separately by Cheryl. I'm actually just gonna summarize what's in there in the different forms. So this is just by speaking notes, so you don't have to take notes on what I'm gonna say. Just to sort of present this in a more integrated fashion here. It's been everybody have a copy there? Yeah. It's been a busy 6 weeks, to say the least. But not so much on the Linden Terrace project. Because as I think we know, we submitted a $58 million funding application in the winter 2026 round in February, the end of February. And we've been told that real soon now this meeting is now June, you know, there will be some big governor's announcement of all the projects that did make the cut. And we've also been told repeatedly, it's not going to be us because there are projects 2 or 3 years that have been in the queue that are going to get funded before us. It's not 0%, but it's not much higher than 0%. What will happen is that we will get that, you know, it'll be a big governor's level PR press release and presentation. And we've also been told that HLC is strongly considering another mini round before we get to the winter 2026 round, which would kick off, you know, be due on February 2026. And that we are positioned to resubmit for that, and we'll get very valuable feedback on what, you know, gaps or holes or so forth that might be in our previous application. And we're basically knocking on the door and waiting our turn in line for this. Is for the Linden Terrace Phase 1A redevelopment project, which takes 40 units to the north part of where we're sitting right now and redevelops them into 76 replacement units here. The, other pending item that still we haven't got to is that, but we found a consulting firm that's just lacking staff time to do this, is putting out an RFP for, which we're required to do with 30B process, to solicit proposals for reallocating up to 20 or 30 of our existing Section 8 mobile vouchers, which I think we all know can be used anywhere in the continental United States, not just in Massachusetts or in Needham, and project basing them. And that's an essential part of the overall subsidy strategy for Linden Terrace, so that we can continue to offer very low affordable housing, low income affordable housing. So that's still in the works. Hopefully we'll find some time to get to it. And then the third thing that I didn't note down here, but there's still no information or resolution on the lawsuit that was filed by one of our residents, Mr. Jim Burke, challenging the redevelopment. It was the plaintiffs were, the defendants were both the Needham Housing Authority and the Needham Planning Board for having a special permit to do the project in the first place. That has been stuck in Superior Court ever since last December, when we we in the town filed all the sort of responses to the initial complaint. It's been stuck in Superior Court because of the Karen Reed trial, which has paralyzed the Dedham Square and the Superior Court. And it's reportedly is now in juries are now considering things or something like that, but it is just like nothing else has been moving through Dedham Superior Court, including ourselves. I guess other things have been moving, but only critical, important things and not. So we haven't even had our first hearing, and we stay in touch with our attorney that we engaged for this. We think we have a very good strategy, which I'm not going to get into in public here. But recognizing there are two new commissioners here, I certainly provide the filings. They're fairly self-explanatory. We think we will prevail on that. We in the town of Needham here, who is the other defendant. So we're waiting for the governor's announcement, and then meanwhile, our work with AHSC and Peabody, Betsy Collins and Mike Mattis, pretty much been pretty quiet. Week in and week out, we don't have our weekly status report because a meeting there hasn't been anything, with the exception of what I'm going to get to down in the both Linden and Seabeds projects section, which I'll come back to. On the other hand, Seabeds Way has been a hotbed of activity ever since on the 7th of May, 2025, town meeting approved the CPC recommendation, approved it unanimously, I think, of $3.2 million of CPA funding for the Seabeds modernization project, preservation modernization project. And since then, there's activities with HUD to progress our RAD Section 18 application. We've been, Cheryl's been working to free up as much of our capital fund plan money that we can spare while still keeping enough to maintain our aging current buildings like Cook and High Rock Estates, and working all the process of reallocating those budgets as we can. We discovered our High Rock Estates declaration of trust should have been updated a few years ago and wasn't, so that's actually done pretty much and signed
and sent to the attorney.
And that was, routine, but took a fair amount of effort. We have a existing BH&A architect engineering services contract, fixed price to do the entire Seabeds Way and Captain Robert Cook projects together, because up until we discovered the town doesn't have enough CPA funding for us in January. That was what we were gonna do. We were gonna do both, all 76 units at the same time. And the compromise, using every nickel that was in the piggy bank, CPA piggy bank, which turned out to be $3.2 million, was enough to do seabeds. And we are phasing Captain Robert Cook in, and then phase to follow as soon as we can make that happen. There's more money available from the CPA, which is needed to make up the gap. Part of the reason that's so critical is we're not going in for low-income housing tax credits, because we don't want to be competing with ourselves for the already non-existent or scarce tax credit financing that we need here for Linden Street. And we're doing both projects together, just to reiterate. Normally, we would just do one at a time, but they both are actually totally interdependent with each other, because as soon as we reposition Seabed's Way, 40 of the 46 Faircloth units, subsidy units, get transferred over to Linden Street and make that financing go. So we're kind of doing both, and we have two developers and two big projects that we're going forward with, which is a lot. So back to BH&E, there are two things that we've been working on since, I guess, May 8th, one day after the approval, which is one, we have to separate out the Siamese twins of the seabeds and Cook scope of work and execute a contract amendment, which hasn't been executed yet, but we just do the work to kind of rescope just that project alone to go forward. And of course, there's some extra expenses and some opportunity to amend things that sort of it's natural DNA of all contractors to take advantage of that, to correct flaws and oversights and other things that might have taken place a year or two ago when they first signed it. And then all this is oriented towards getting a notice of proceed out to them to go from where we are right now, which is the 100% schematic design to 100% construction documents, so that we can put that out on bid, for bid on schedule in the fall, going into September, and find out how much this thing is really going to cost as opposed to what we think it's going to cost from our cost estimator here. There's the next item, six, another thing that has been very important to the town of Needham and ourselves is that both Seabeds and Cook have very favorably oriented and large solar photovoltaic roofs pointed in the right direction, lots. So there's a real opportunity to take advantage of that to offset the utility costs of our residents and of the housing authority. And there's been a big issue, not an issue, but there's always the choice of going down the road of doing a PPO approach where we don't get as much benefit, but it is affordable. It doesn't require any upfront capital costs versus an ownership approach. And so that again was looked at with both properties going forward at the same time. That's has been pulled apart. And now we can't really, we're trying to find out a way of affording the ownership part, because the financing is very skinny already just to get done everything else we need to do for CVACs. So we got to see if we can figure out how we can afford to pay for upfront capital costs of actually doing an ownership approach, which is, over a 5 or 8 year payback period, is far more financially beneficial to the housing authority than going down a PPO road. And then also on the agenda for tonight in your packet is the lender RFP that was put out in May by our housing consultant, CHA. And we've actually received proposals back last Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. Like almost everything else we need to do, if we're going to find a lender who's going to give us our primary first mortgage on the property and also lend us, which is about 10 million plus or minus, which will be, a permanent loan that goes on for 40 years and it will continue to roll over. And then also our construction financing we need, which is in the order of about $20 million, which is an interim loan that gets paid back at the end of construction and occupancy. And then we need a pre-development loan. That's all outlined in that RFP. I thought they did a very good job of writing that RFP. Anybody wants to know what's really going on with the project, it's a quick and very understandable read. So those proposals are being evaluated as we speak. A week ago, there was a route where we actually have Cambridge Housing Authority with their, recommended winner or respondent. That didn't get done in time for this meeting. But I expect to be getting that from them tomorrow, midweek, and
How many lenders responded?
so, and I thought you might ask that, and the answer is right here somewhere. So we got only one lender, Chase Bank, who did, 2 out of the 3 areas, which was the first mortgage and the construction loan. Nobody proposed on the pre-development loan, at all. So we're looking into other options for that. And I have it somewhere here, and here it is. And we got 3 lenders for the permanent financing: JP Morgan Chase, Mass Housing Partnership, and Barings. And for construction financing, only JP Morgan Chase, and nobody for the pre-development loan. So, and none of them are actually federal home loan banks. So that's another thing we got to deal with here, and is being looked into, because that's the source of financing that we need. And the deadline is June, as you might have seen, the RP is like July 17th for getting that application in. So we're actually looking for another bank that might, who is a member bank of Boston FHLC, who can step into that breach. It is a board decision to select the winning vendor. I don't know yet if we have one, or whether we're going to wind up in a situation where none of them are recommended by the housing authority. For Amanda and Jeff, this will be your first trip down this kind of road as board members. I think, though Jim would agree with me, one of the things, good qualities of the Cambridge Housing Authority is they do a very good analysis of whatever they're doing, and they produce a recommendation memorandum of a few pages that is very understandable and readable and digestible in terms of what they're recommending and why. And they always come, they would have come to this meeting, except it's not ready, but they always then come and present it to us and answer questions before we have to make any kind of decision. So when I was, Cheryl was started alluding to the need for a special meeting, this is one of the ones, situations where we always try to be a nimble board and have a short special meeting scheduled, so we stay off the critical path of something like this and we get a decision approved, if it makes sense to us. In terms of time frame, I was going to ask everybody to we're thinking next Tuesday, which is the 24th, or the 25th, Wednesday, and typically it's been a morning meeting, or sort of around. We now have a majority of the board, got a day job, and has got lots of things to juggle schedule wise. And if you folks could, the 3 of you could sort of look and say that Janice and I and Cheryl could pretty much accommodate anything that where we find like an hour time period that overlaps. We typically do these by Zoom, just to make that, use that as a tool to make it easy. And so the question is, just to throw this out, on Tuesday or Wednesday, the 24th or the 25th, sometime during those 2 days, 10 to 3, otherwise there's, 2 days of round robin by email that we have to do. Is there something that a window that would work, like 10 or 11 or 12, let's say, in the morning or in the early
I'm
afternoon.
pretty flexible in those ranges. Tuesday is good for me, and I'm flexible to Amanda's schedule too. Wednesday is not good.
I say Tuesday morning, how's that look for you?
I could do a 9 AM on Tuesday, or I could do after 2 PM.
How's that look on you guys?
Yep.
I need to give Cambridge a little bit of flexibility too, if they need.
Yeah, I mean, I think I prefer 9, but I probably could make an afternoon time work.
All right, so where's my place? Covered it up. There we go. 9 AM, 9 to 10 on Tuesday. Or 2, did we say 2 and after 2 to
2 and
5, between 2 and 5 on Tuesday afternoon? Okay. We have a standing meeting with Cambridge. What time is it? At 4
On Tuesday.
on Tuesday, so I think they'd probably make it Tuesday at 4 if we gave them the choice.
I have a 5,
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
pushing it close for me.
We can move it up, yeah. All right, so, Tuesday, okay. We'll work on that.
Okay.
And we'll get that out tomorrow and get that locked into everybody's calendar. And then, hopefully we'll have something that can be distributed to everybody by the time we get to the weekend and, the only time to sort of digest things. All right, back to the report. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are various micro sources of, not micro, very significantly needed sources of funding of one time or another. In various stages of being landed. We're not late on that. They just have deadlines that we knew were taking place. Everything is on track there. Back to what we're doing for both projects. One of the things that's come out from both projects is we are not only extremely fortunate that our state representative Denise Garlick and our state senator Becca Rausch managed to get us $4 million of earmarks in last year's Affordable Homes Act. But we really need it now. And as we've talked about many times, just because we have the earmark doesn't mean it's available when we need it. So we've launched a cross-project effort to work on with our state representatives, senators, offices and staff, as well as connections into HLC and other mechanisms that both development partners use when they need to like get this into what it really has to do is be approved by A&F, Administration of Finance, and HLC to go into next fall's bond bill, along with another $500 million of other stuff. And the reason for that is the Linden Street $58 million funding status is dependent about 3 million of that. And a lot of people don't remember this, but the 3 million of Linden Street earmark is just for that. The 1 million that came in from Becca Rausch's side as a Senate is actually for the Needham Housing Authority and can be used for either project. And we're so thin on the funding stack on the seabed side that it's quite possible that we need to sort of tap into that. Particularly both of them we're less dependent on the Linden Street side because the town generously gave us $5.5 million of CPA funds a year ago for the Linden Street project. And we were trying to save, some of that out for phase 1B. But we don't have to. We can always use it all on Linden Street and free up the $1 million to be used on seabed. So there's sort of a 3-dimensional funding chess game going on here on the strategies. And one of the things that's coming out of that, besides we had a great meeting with our new state representative Josh Tarsi last couple weeks ago, but actually both developer teams, I've got finally convinced them that we actually have to work together, which is not their normal way of doing things, because they're usually competing with each other. So we're having regular periodic joint meetings where our problems are your problems and vice versa, because both projects are so interdependent with each other. So that's going well. Last report, I'm gonna email this out to everybody after this, but we did get, we got shot down in January by town council when we put in a CPA funding request for $150,000 for High Rock Estates to develop a plan for that, a preliminary plan for that 25, 30 acres of property that's right up the line. And while you might say, why are we even thinking about trying to think about that right now? The answer is that it's going to take it 2 or 3 years to kind of figure out what to do up there. And we got to work with the town, find out what's acceptable. Right now, we can build by right, take those 60 single family bungalows and put 60 duplexes on it. But given the how things have changed in the last 5 or 10 years, and the extreme shortage of affordable housing of all kinds in Needham, doesn't even mean our kind, could be a lot more receptivity to more intensive development. And our 25 to 30 acres, we were talking about the Muzzy opportunity before. Of course, that's a whole new thing going on, but it's probably the largest single contiguous piece of developable property in Needham that doesn't have any kind of debt or mortgage on it. It's, we own it outright, all 20, there's nothing to be bought out there. And those buildings are, 70 years old, and, definitely nobody disputes that something needs to be done sooner rather than later. So, having gotten shot down, we found a new funding source, and got the application in June 3rd, I think it is. That's a one-stop funding source specifically for this sort of planning project, right 100% in the bullseye. And, then we just have to wait and see if we can score on the first round here that we submitted. Yes, the community one-stop. There are 12, confusingly, there are 12 different funding programs that are all known as community one-stop, but it's actually 12 different sources of funding for various different things, from either mass development or HLC. And we, it turns out that one of those 12 are just expressly for this purpose. So we've got and it's a maximum grant of 150,000. Probably might not be enough money, but it was pretty close to what we're guesstimating that we would need. And if we do land this grant, then we can put out an RFP to find a consultant, a planning company that specializes, and there are many of them out there, very good quality ones that can take this sort of blank sheet of paper we have, and then we can combine it with all the other factors that are going on in Needham. Part of the proposal, as you will see, is to work and doing a community engagement process. You get extra points actually for winning the grant if you propose a community engagement process that involves the planning board and the neighbors and the residents and everybody else, to figure out what's the right way of developing this big piece of real estate or redeveloping it. So that's exciting. And it's going to take us, if we get awarded, the awards is going to be something like by September. And if we get that, it's going to take us the rest of the year to do the RFP process and have somebody on board in the beginning of 2026. Meanwhile, our other 2 developers are hopefully doing most of the bus driving on our projects. And then it's going to take a minimum of, I think, 18 months from there, just elapsed time to go through this. And all of a sudden, the future has arrived when we can consider doing that. We have done enough financial analysis work with the Cambridge Housing Authority before we put High Rock Estates on the shelf to know that the money is there for doing a repositioning there and, getting going either on a phase basis or the entire 25 acres on whatever future destiny we could figure out makes sense for the Housing Authority's mission and for the town of Needham. So, any questions or comments?
We're a long ways off.
Well, yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it? But it's, you know, you have to play, we're playing the long ball on this, you know.
That's how Linden got started, right?
Yeah.
It got started in 2021, and here we are, you know, so, and CBITS, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, it's been a long ride.
yeah, so, and again, huge thank you, you know, to the Cambridge Housing Authority that put together this whole strategy at the beginning, first year or two, and who's gonna be our development partner for CBEDS, and a huge thank you to our newest development partner, the HSC and Peabody. They've just continued to exceed my expectations, and you know, Cheryl and Jim have been shadowing this as we go along, and it's just been, they're great people to work with, and they really understand what to do. So, all right, we can go back from Nirvana of PRI and get back to the mundane of the next agenda item here, which is the Cook School status updates on our sort of general initiatives. Anything on Cook's after school program?
Nothing to report. School is closing. There's an ice cream social happening tomorrow for the both High Rock and Cook's
Yeah,
students.
and then everybody, it's summer vacation.
Summer vacation.
Yeah, all right. New business, you've got a couple of change orders and certificates of
I have
final
a-
payment for us here in the board packet. So what do we got?
So I've done an application and certificate for payment for Pine Ridge Technologies. This is the company that is doing the fire alarm upgrade at our 689 project, Matthews House, 1415 Great Plain Avenue. They are, with the exception of the change orders that have been submitted, they are almost finished with this job. They came to us, you approved this contract, last fall. They were the low bidder, at 77,000. And they're looking to be paid, $6,214.62. This money comes to us via EOHLC, the upper target funding. Formula funding from and it's part of our capital improvement program. And they're doing a great job. Greg has been working with them, meeting with them. It's a good company to work with. I really like them a lot. Are there any questions?
So, I will make a motion to approve this final payment to Pine Ridge Technologies. That's how much?
Not the final, we have a percentage that we're
Yeah,
retaining,
percent.
yeah, so.
How much is it? $6,621.
$214.62.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Okay.
Second from Jeff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Angler votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And that passes unanimously. Now we have a second one right
So now
here.
we have two change orders.
Two change orders.
They were about to complete the job. Fire department inspected the work and recommended these changes. One is.
And what, describe what the project is for our new.
Again, this is related to the fire alarm replacement upgrade at 689. Our 689 project at 214 Great Plain Avenue.
So this is our
So this is
our
adding,
halfway home.
yeah,
on Great
development
Plain
to the,
Avenue.
yeah. And so this is adding to that scope of work,
Yeah.
this change orders that are recommended by the fire department. Greg, do you have anything to add about them? Yeah.
Anyway, you want to give the fire department what they want.
We gotta give the fire department what they want. These are their recommendations. One is to add an additional fire alarm zone work, and the other is smoke detectors in the upper and lower dining room.
So I think the first change order starts on page 150, and the second one charge 153, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the board always approves, or I mean, always reviews the change orders before we allow the contractor to do the work. So once you review this information, if you have any questions, if you approve it, then we'll notify the contractor, they can move forward with getting this work done, and it will complete the job in a certain amount of time.
And how much is change order number one?
Change order number one is for 1,000, I believe, $1,884.42. $0.99.
And that's on page 55, and you and Greg are recommending that we approve these change orders. That's the right thing to do, right? Sounds good to me. Yeah, if they get what they, yeah. So I make a motion that we approve these two change orders to the two amounts that have been cited here for what Pine Ridge Technologies Incorporated. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Jeff. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Bender votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Great. Okay, we're getting to adjournment, but we have one more thing to discuss, which is the date and time of the next meeting. I was briefing Amanda on what she was getting herself into the other day. And I explained to her that whenever we have a new board member, we always see if our regular third Thursday, currently at 5 o'clock, is a convenient date for the foreseeable future for our monthly meetings. And Amanda's answer is yes, but for Thursday, July 17th, 2025, where she has a pre-existing commitment. But otherwise, this is still a good date and time to regularly do. We just lock it into our calendars or the indefinite future beyond that. And we need to sort of, as a courtesy to Amanda, we either need to meet without Amanda, which we could do. I would prefer to, find a accommodation that we can do here, because it's impossible to describe in advance or, what actually happens in these meetings without being there in person there. Amanda, what could you do? The other thing everybody needs to be aware of is that it's a major challenge, shall I call it that way, to move a meeting a day or two earlier, as we just did for Juneteenth. Everything gets compressed and difficult for sure. So to the extent that we could have the meeting earlier that day or, earlier that week, but not much earlier. And we don't want to, we usually never do meetings on Fridays, although theoretically we could do that because it's just, a Friday. And you can't have meetings on Saturdays and Sundays. And then if you skip to the floor, next week, then all of a sudden things start breaking the other way, because we don't get approvals done.
Yeah, that Thursday is also not good for me. I mean, I get up, I'm taking a family vacation that week. I return that Thursday afternoon, so I could have done 5, but if we could do Friday.
We could, we could do
That would
that.
be better.
How's, let me look at my own calendar before I say something I shouldn't here.
Presuming that you want to do it as close to Thursday as possible.
That would be great. Yeah, so it's Friday, the 18th, I think you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Friday, the 18th. Does work for me too, so. We might not want to do it at 5 PM, however. So Cheryl, how's your calendar look? You're the other. So maybe done by what time?
What's 2, 3? I
Started, we do it this maybe do it at 2. Yeah,
Start at 2.
start at 2, if that works for everybody. Well, I have actually 2:30 would work better for me here. That works for everybody, or 3.
2:30 works.
2:30 is
2:30 is
fine.
good.
Okay, 2:30.
And we'll be succinct.
All right. Well, we.
As possible.
It always seems to turn out to be famous last words, but yes, we should try. All right, so we are officially moving it to Friday, the 18th at 2:30.
Okay.
All right. And with that, I think we're at the end of our agenda. You just wanted to note that's in the packet, Cheryl, that there is the very last pages is the 2024 annual report that we submit to the town of Needham. I don't know if anybody's ever gotten it, but there's actually like a 1-inch thick book with, we have our couple pages in there. So this is for last year's, so it doesn't, has last year's board in it and so forth and so on. But if you wanted to sort of see what we say about ourselves, then, just thought you'd be interested, so. And, yeah.
Any update on board positions, or will that be later?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Jim reminds me that, when, Ed Scheidler, decided not to run and Penny dropped out, at our annual meeting in May, there was, we had a shortfall of commissioners to fill our officer positions, which are chair, vice chair, and treasurer. And as a compromise at that point, Jim was volunteered to take on the title of treasurer. So he's both vice chair and treasurer. And I was mentioning this to Amanda when I was briefing her on the board meeting, and some of the agenda items earlier this week, and she indicated she'd be willing to take on that officer position for the remainder of the year until she runs for, hopefully, for re-election. If everybody's comfortable with that, I could entertain a motion.
So
You're still.
Sorry.
And second, maybe from Jeff or something like that. All right, and any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to appoint Amanda Berman as the treasurer of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I will call the roll one last time. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
You get to vote, yeah.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's really helpful to kind of spread the load here, so.
Yeah.
All right, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn from somebody here.
Second,
I think I moved by Jim and seconded by Jazz. Jazz is always quick on the second trigger on that one. I hear no further discussion. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And we are adjourned, and thank you very much.
Aye.
I don't know.
Good night, Jazz. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Tell me.
Nice.